We appreciate the continued discussion with Congressman Collins and Ferguson as we discuss the H-2B guest worker visa program and progress made on national water policy. Many of our landscape business members and many on this call today use the H-2B visa program. They rely on it to supplement their workforce due to the inability to recruit and hire domestic workers. As you know, there's a ceiling on the number of H-2B temporary workers allowed to work in the U.S., and the program is always maxed out immediately when people are trying to get in. So even so, the program continues to grow in popularity each year due to these workforce struggles. Without a reliable workforce, as we mentioned before, businesses cannot grow. To no avail, we at UAC and our national partners have advocated for an increase in the visa limit, as well as the need for the returning worker exception when calculating the visa limit. We thank both of you for always hearing us and understanding our need for these workers. Your consistent support is much appreciated, and we've been working with you on this for years.
Yep. Well, let me just continue on that, because it's a big issue. The H-2B program. I mean, you talk about a program. Once you go explain it to people, and you explain what it actually does and how it actually benefits American citizens and American jobs by bringing people in, it's sort of a light bulb that goes on in a lot of people's mind and say, oh, wow, this is actually a good program. The unfortunate part, and I've dealt with this and the good part of it is I got, Drew and them in Ways and Means doing a great job with taxes and finance and everything else. In the Judiciary Committee, we get into the real, nuts and bolts of a lot of our problem with immigration and things like that, which are not solvable. And the first thing that comes up always with immigration seems to be is we want to just default to illegal immigration. We want to default to the problems of the southern border, the people who are here illegally. And the problem is the vast majority of our immigration issues are legal immigration issues, H-2A, H-2B, our visa programs, those kind of things that we can work on. And there's no sense in artificially capping our growth by artificially capping these H-2B visas. It's crazy, and the returning worker exception needs to be expanded, but we also need to not have to go back every year and say, look, how is it that business and landscape's been a big issue for me, and I've been trying to help as any way as we can. How can somebody who plans a business model, think about it, and I know I'm preaching choir here a little bit, but if you have a business and this past year you were able to get 30 H-2B workers and you planned your business model for the next year to get 30 more workers, and then when the lottery comes, you get 0. I mean, I had a company this year that had to give away $1 million contracts because they had no workers. And when you go to your local chambers of commerce, when you go to your local, meetings and government leaders and talk about this, once you get past and I'm encouraging, and I've asked for this before, when Drew and I talk about this issue, everybody views what we say through a political lens, period. They don't see us as either business owners or advocating for common sense economic growth. They see us as a political dogma, whether it be Republican or Democrat. Your members and business owners, when they go to their chambers, when they go to their ag councils, when they go to their church picnics, when they talk about this, and you say that these 10 H-2B workers pay for the jobs year-round for 4 to 5 American workers, and they're only here a set amount of time, they go back, they come back. Again, when people start seeing this, they understand the program, and it actually works, but we've got to have help in continually explaining that. But from a legislative standpoint, you've also got to have willing partners on the other side that will not continue to conflate illegal immigration and the need for what their purpose is, open borders and no controls, with the fact that we need to secure our border, but have legal immigration reforms that actually help our businesses. We're the most generous nation in the world when it comes to immigration, the most generous. And now if you listen to the TVs, you'll think we're the most closed nation, or you think we were North Korea. We're not. We're over 2 million people every year come into this country legally, citizenship. No other country in the world does that. And yet we're always seemingly on the back end of this discussing the peripherals of illegal immigration without getting to this real, very much interesting economic interest.
So we're going to have to work diligently to help each particular industry work through this specific time. The longer term goals that Doug talked about making sure that our legal immigration system is robust and working correctly is important. But what we're finding right now in many industries, even with those that can get H-2B visas, we're seeing challenges getting those workers to America because of the challenges with COVID in many of the home countries. And the State Department is beginning to address this. We just got really engaged with the timber industry on this, needing H-2B visas for the planting season. We were successfully able to work with the administration to get the waivers for them. But now the real challenge is that can we actually get those workers up here to plant the pine trees in time because of the backlog related to COVID-19 in their home countries. So there's going to be some real short-term challenges that we're leaning into for this immediate season. But Doug's right. We've got to have an intellectually honest conversation about our legal immigration system, just like we do about mandatory spending and Social Security. And we have got to do that in a bipartisan way and not use those one-liners as hit jobs for the political opposition, either within our own party or with the other party.
Thank you. That is a very it's a difficult topic, and it just seems that it seems impossible. We appreciate your work on it. I know that some of our
I don't think that it is impossible. We were very, very close in the last Congress to getting this done. I mean, Doug worked extremely hard, and we were very, very close. We wound up having some very loud voices along the edges, kind of pull us back from it. But I do believe I've sat in the White House with the president. I believe in a second term that he will have the leadership and the authority to go out and actually address this issue. I've heard him say that he wants to address it, and we all know that when he decides he wants something done and he will lean into it, I think he can get there. I think he would love to be the president that fixed the immigration system, both in terms of securing the border and the safety and security of Americans, but also fixing the legal immigration system. I don't think it's impossible. I think I'm optimistic about what we could do in his second term.
That's great news. Shifting gears a little bit, we want to thank you for your support to reverse the EPA's Waters of the United States rules. It is gratifying that the current EPA is much more cooperative than the staff that generated that rule, and we're thankful President Trump took action to repeal the old rules and replace it with one that is manageable. Do you have any comments on that?
We're excited. We as well. That's been a long time coming. And I remember, someone who is from one end of, I like to say, Drew and I are on the two ends of the water wars here. I'm at the start. He's toward in the middle to the end. But it's been something we've had to face in all across the state of Georgia. But when you not only take the water wars issue, but you take the land issues, you take everything else that Waters of the USA, did. It's good to see us moving forward. And again, another reason why we can't move back. We can't go backwards in this. We can't have a lot of what has been done in the last few years undone. The rains have been plentiful, our lakes are full, the flows are good, but we have to be ever diligent on making sure that we're good stewards of our water resources. And we have to, quite candidly, politically, Doug and I have to keep a watchful eye on our friends just across the state line in Alabama to make sure that they never stick a straw into our water and take it from us. That is something that is important to all and something that Doug and I are going to be ever mindful of. But the waters of the U.S., just know if we take a big shift here in the country, guess what? We're going back to those types of policies, and we'll start this fight all over again. And so I'm not, again, another reason, as Doug has pointed out, not to take a hard turn to the left here.
Thank you. We've been very involved all these years. Brian.
Yep.
And I and others working on the water issues and our state issue. Congressman, we want to thank you for taking the time today, and also when we visit you in DC, and always just being so responsive. What can we do to help you? And how can the Georgia Urban Ag Council be of service to you?
Doug,
Drew, you're part. I'll finish. All right, I'll do it. Look, doing exactly what you're doing here. Be engaged. It's giving good product to your membership, but also being engaged on a personal level where we know we can talk to you, we know we can have conversations, and we get good answers. And I know Drew's staff is amazing. I've been blessed with a great staff as well. And when we reach out, we're reaching out to say, how can we help? And I think that's always, I know from my philosophy, I know it is Drew's as well, is how do we help? And what y'all are doing this, these issues are the things that give us the tools we need to do our job. So I would just say continue to do what you're doing, but just also raise the horn. Like I said, I've done several calls this morning already, and I sort of ended with all these groups saying this is not the apocalypse as far as an election. I'm not one of those who say that, but I am saying this. In a business issue, in a business arena, there are two opposing forces coming up here in this election cycle. There's one that will move us back to the days when you would have thought Waters of the USA was a mile thing compared to what they want to do. Or you can move in the direction we're heading now with less regulation, better understanding of business, and also willingness to work on issues and fix them like immigration instead of just them continually being a political issue. So what y'all are doing is great, and I want to just encourage you to continue to do that. And thankful for your help for member companies who help out the businesses during this time during the pandemic have been great.
And look, when we get to Congress, if we go from being a candidate to being a member of Congress, we tend to know our own fields very well. And I jokingly say, about 4.5 years ago now, I was sitting in West Point, Georgia, working on bad teeth in a dental office. Okay, and you get to Congress, and there are a plethora of new issues and ideas and industries that I have no experience in, and therefore the communication, Mary Kay and Brian, that you give us about your members, about their concerns, about their needs is invaluable. So continue to communicate, continue to push hard on these issues that we know are really, truly important, like immigration and reopening the economy. I look at everything through the lens of being a local mayor, which I was for a couple of terms here in West Point, Georgia. It's about jobs, and it's about the dignity of work in people's lives. Everything that we want to accomplish and do as a nation requires that we have a robust economy. In order for us to have a robust economy, we've got to be making decisions that make America the most competitive place in the world to do business. And if we continue to do that, and we create the environment where you can freely invest, hire people, work, and grow your businesses, to me, that is a tremendous victory, because we cannot afford to lose a single job. I've lived in a town where you couldn't buy a job, and I know the importance of every one of them, whether it's a CFO, whether it's a CEO, whether it's the person that you train coming out of a trade school to take the entry-level job. Every single one of those jobs is vitally important. And so that's the focus that we have, and I think that's the choice coming up in November is going to be very clear for me based on that lens of how I look at things.
Well, thank you both so much for your time and for everything you're doing for us in Georgia. Appreciate everyone on the call. Have a good weekend. Stay healthy. Hope to see y'all soon.